Hello, everybody. Welcome to Virtual Happy Hour. I'm Raina from Garden District Bookshop. And today is a very special Virtual Happy Hour. I'm very excited to invite two of my friends who I met like 3 years ago. They are both indie booksellers, just like I am, but they are not from Garden District Books. We have Sami Thomason from Square Books and Nicole Brinkley from Oblong Books. We're going to click that button. There we go. Everybody, hello, hello. Thank you guys for joining me on Virtual Happy Hour.
Oh my God, thank you for having me. This is going to be so fun.
How can I say no?
Right? It's just like hanging out and talking. And I think it's amazing. Like I was looking it up the other day. It was like 3 summers ago is when I met you guys. I don't know if you guys knew each other before that or not.
We met at Children's because we did that panel together, Nicole.
Yes, that is why we met. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So,
I just feel like I've known you forever now.
I know, right?
So it was all the same Children's Institute 3 years ago. So that's great. That was my first Children's Institute ever. I don't know, had you guys been?
My first one too.
I don't remember.
So I was pretty excited to have gone, and that was fun, but then also to meet so many great people and kind of stay in touch. I'm horrible at staying in touch, so I really am happy about social media.
It helps, man. It really does.
Yeah. Especially like with the personality, I'm just not the type of person who goes out of their way to reach out. I don't know. I want to be better. But I just feel like I always drop the ball. And so with social media, you get to kind of check in without like annoying anyone. I feel like that's what it is. I feel like I'm annoying people
That's an introvert problem. And I feel that.
See, I recently quit Twitter on a personal level because I found it too overwhelming for my poor little anxiety disorder. But the newest hobby I have is with a couple of my bookselling friends. So Meg Wassmer, who runs Copper Dog Books in Massachusetts, and Cecilia Cackley, who works at East City Bookshop in Washington, D.C. We're actually doing old school pen pal stuff. So like every few weeks I get a letter from one of them. Cecilia and I have been swapping stickers back and forth that are decorating my laptop. And it's been really fun. So like they're people I love, but people who I have a harder time keeping up with on social media because we both don't use it as frequently. And so it was a really fun way to like stay connected and do something like hands-on and tactile, but like it's every couple of weeks, so it's no pressure.
That's nice. That's a really good idea. Yeah, I was going to say, I know I keep up with Raina on Twitter almost always.
Yeah.
And Nicole, I just text you all the time.
It's true.
It's personal Twitter is texting.
It is weird. I mean, I'm sending her weird stream of thought stuff. So yeah, it's accurate.
It's hard to imagine, like that's how Twitter started, was like these text messages you'd send and then they would just put them up on the world, or it was, yeah.
What a world.
Yeah, I remember the time being on the bus and people signing up to have tweets from certain people texted to them so they wouldn't miss anything. Because that was the time before apps on the phone.
I remember.
Now I feel old.
Wild.
Yeah, and trying to explain, okay, so this is fun. Trying to explain to my 13-year-old son why Twitter only had 140 characters. That's
so long ago now.
Right? It's amazing that just the whole concept is so foreign to the people that are starting to enter into the world of being able to, use social media and all of those things. And he's like, I don't understand what you're saying. So what are you guys drinking? It's happy hour. What are y'all drinking?
Nicole, you go first.
I don't drink alcohol, so I'm drinking lemonade and also water, because if you just drink lemonade, your mouth will parch, and that's terrible for a live stream.
You gotta stay hydrated. So
pro tip.
I made myself a little drink. It is a watermelon lime, sparkling water, gin, lime juice, and I just put a whole slab of watermelon in there because that's where I'm at. It's very good.
It's good. I'm actually drinking, I realize this is the same drink that I was drinking last week because I had the same things in my refrigerator last week that I do this week. So it's like 7-Up, sweetened lime juice, and vodka in my kitty cup. But also water, because adulting, because also you need water.
I like to stay hydrated. There's already water in my drink, so that makes it easier.
I love that
I
you're
don't-
telling yourself that, and that makes
Right. I know it's not right, Nicole.
Yeah, the science doesn't really check out on that
No,
one.
not really, no.
We're gonna give it to you though. It's some gray area, but you know that. It's okay. So I'd like to say hi to everybody who is watching. And if you have any questions or would like any book recommendations, you have a friend, a dad, a mom, somebody you need to get a book for, want to get a book for, or for yourself, you can comment wherever you are watching from. You can just put in the comments and we can see those and we will answer your questions or try and find you the best book recommendations we can.
It's
So
true, we're experts. Between the three of us, like, we've got it covered.
We can make it
It's
happen.
my favorite thing. Let me recommend your books.
Exactly.
Well, we just recently opened back up to the public with limited browsing, given everything that's happening. And I didn't realize until I got to do it again how much I missed connecting customers to books. It's my favorite thing in the whole wide world.
Yep. Absolutely.
We've been doing virtual appointments at our children's store. We have 3 stores and I work at all of them. It's a lot. But at the children's store, we're doing virtual appointments, which is great because I just walk people around the store with my phone and I'm like, don't you miss the store? Here are all the books you could have. And then I go through all the books, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's not the same, but it's pretty good.
That's pretty amazing. We had thought about doing those virtual appointments, but then I don't know. We never really got around to it. I think one of the things we were talking about is like, who do they call? Do you have a store phone? Do they call you personally?
We have a website that does all the appointment making for us. I think it's called Appointlet. I would have to ask our kids manager because he's the one who set it all up. But it's called Appointlet, and it sets it up, and it even like sets up the Zoom meeting for you and sends you like appointment reminders. It's awesome. So like if you go to our website and you go to the Square Books Junior page, you can like request a bookseller. So you could request me.
You can request personal booksellers, like which one you want. You like check the box. And
yeah, that's the fun thing about like being a small store and kind of a small town is that like everybody knows everybody. And so like people know that if they want the teen books, they need to talk to me. If they want picture books, they probably want to talk to Jill or Paul. So it evens out like kind of nicely.
So Nicole, how big is your store? Because I've never been up there, and you're in Rhinebeck, New York. Is that correct?
Yeah. So Oblong Books has 2 locations. We have one in Millerton, New York, which is on the Connecticut-New York border, and one in Rhinebeck, New York, which is basically the perfect 100 miles outside of Manhattan. So it's like a very hot tourist destination. I'm supposed to know the square footage of my store. I don't. It's large according to other independent booksellers, but not like Barnes and Noble big. We carry, for context, we carry something like 35,000 individual titles, as well as games, cards, toys, etc. And it has a lot of lovely walking room. We also carry music. Like our full title is Oblong Books and Music, so we still have a whole CD and vinyl section, which is really fun.
That would be fun to be able to throw music in there too.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a question from Kate. What is your favorite new thriller?
Oh no, I'm so ready for it. Hello, it's my friend Mexican Gothic. Y'all, I'm an English major. The Gothic novel, it means so much to me. They're ridiculous and I love them. This book scared, are we allowed to curse on here?
Yeah.
Can I curse? It scared the absolute shit out of me. It's so like lustrous and creepy and wonderful. Highly, highly recommend.
I read horror novels more than I read thrillers because I like things that have an element of fantasy. But in terms of like straight up thriller, I have to plug the new Alyssa Cole novel, When No One Is Watching. It's about the slow gentrification of a neighborhood, but in the style of Get Out, where it's like a very slow build and then suddenly it's terrifying and you don't know what to do. It just came out on Tuesday, so it's brand new and you absolutely need it if you like thrillers.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm not a huge mystery thriller reader, and you stole mine. So when no one is watching, I'm just going to second that, which is kind of cheating, but it's very true. It's very true. And I will. So we always link to. There we go. Oh my gosh. Just language. No, it's not there. We always link to the things that we mentioned. So I will go back and do that for everybody who's watching. I'll go back and link to all these at the end of the event. So you don't have to keep track of all of them and write them all down. You can, but if you just check back in a few minutes after the event, give me about 10, 15, and I will have linked to all of them.
Huzzah!
Ta-da! Oh, Ted!
Hi, Ted! Ted works at my store, but he used to be Raina's coworker. He brought us together in his own beautiful way. He always tells, every time Raina comes to see me at the store and I'm not there, he's always like, you missed Raina again.
I do. Well, because I don't know what your schedule is and I know what Ted's schedule is. So a lot of times, I know. So a lot of times I'm like, oh, I know Ted's going to be there. So I'll go and see Ted. And then somehow we always mention that. One time you were on lunch too. One time you were just on lunch and I was driving through and I was like, well, nobody knew exactly where you went. Nobody knew. So I'm like, oh, well, I got to go.
Someday.
Yeah, someday.
Anyway, Ted is the best. Hi, Ted. We love you.
Yes. I told him earlier, I was like, you have to comment if you can. If you're watching, if you get a minute to watch, you have to comment.
Yeah, he's literally at work right now, so he's very dedicated.
Rebecca!
Rebecca,
for those who don't know,
later, don't let me forget.
For those of you who don't know, Rebecca Kim Wells is a bookseller at Porter Square Books, and she's also the author of the YA novel Shatter the Sky, which Sami seems fully ready to plug at a moment's notice.
If you wanted me to, I might just say bisexual dragon book. That's the only tagline you need. I believe that is the tagline that I told the good people at Children's Institute last year when we did Indies Introduced. Y'all, this book is the best. I'm reading the sequel right now. It's called Storm the Earth. It comes out in October, I think. I do have a link to it somewhere, so I should know this. Anyway, Storm the Earth is so good, and I don't want to finish it because when I finish it, it will be over, and I will be sad. Y'all, I love dragon books. I know Nicole is the dragon queen, which is like, I shouldn't even be stepping on her territory. October 13th.
There you go.
Storm the Earth. Order from
Dragons for all. All of us can love dragons.
Dragons are so good.
So what are you reading right now?
I just finished what I was reading, which isn't one of the books I put in my stack. Which was a novella by a French author that I liked well enough, but maybe was too literary for my taste. Good book, but not necessarily for me. It was about the transition from summer to fall in this tiny French village, and how no Parisians stay after August 31st. And this Parisian stays until September 1st. And his wife and child become ghosts in the town. Like their souls are now trapped there forever. And he's like, what do I do? And it was very good, but a little too, I wanted more of the fantasy element, and it definitely explored the social element more. I will pull up the title if anybody is interested in that. It's in my pile across from the apartment. And then before that, I had finished, I finished several things recently, but I recently finished and loved A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, which I know Sami also loves.
I didn't bring mine in. It's in the other room.
I only have the digital copy. I gave my physical galley to someone I love very much.
So yeah, I'm hoarding this one because I need to take good photos of it for my Instagram account. But it does not like having photos taken of it. So I'm going to keep trying. For those of you at home, A Deadly Education is the new book by Naomi Novik, who wrote Uprooted and the Termiere series. And this is her take on the magical school trope. And it is delicious. I read it and immediately wanted to read it again. It's an adult novel, but if you're a teen, you can read it just fine. And I'm so excited to hand sell it when it comes out in October.
Delicious is the word. It's like if you went to magic school, but there were no teachers to help you and everyone was trying to kill you all the time.
how did I describe it to you in my text messages? It was something meets Lee Bardugo's Ninth House, but I can't remember what it was. Howl's Moving Castle meets Lee Bardugo's Ninth House is how I described it.
I think I wrote in my review, don't compare this to Harry Potter. It's better than Harry Potter. And that was before the first thing even happened. So I stand by it.
That's one of those things. I mean, all of these books get compared to Harry Potter. That's the first thing anybody wants to do. If there's magic and a school, it must be like Harry Potter. And truth, I love Naomi Novik, but going into it, I was like, okay, I'm skeptical because of the exact same thing. Harry Potter, school, okay, you put it together, that's what you're going in with this idea. And so wrong.
It's a murder school. It's not Harry Potter.
I think there's definitely elements that she pulled from Harry Potter in that she went, I want to do the exact opposite of that because her roots in Harry Potter are so strong. Do you know her background with AO3 and Harry Potter?
I keep forgetting that she was the one who did the fan fiction.
So, Raina, do you know the story of this?
I don't.
So, Naomi Novik is one of the co-founders of AO3, which is Archive of Our Own, which is one of the biggest fan fiction websites in the world. And she started it because she had been writing Harry Potter fanfic on fanfic.net and got run out of the community. And she was like, no, I'm going to create a space online that is safe for fanfic writers. And it is. It has like a whole lawyer team that works pro bono, and it's amazing. But she definitely like has roots in that fandom. But reading it, you can tell that she went, I want to take everything I didn't like and like make it better and then just do the opposite of so many things. And like, I think it might be better than Harry Potter. Yeah. The author is certainly better than Ms. Rowling.
Mm-hmm. I like to call her Joanne. Because I don't know. Every time I tweet, I'm like, wow, Joanne.
Joanne is the Karen of author names.
That's it, isn't it, though? Apologies to other Joannes.
Right. There's a Joanne out there who we love. We just don't know who it is yet.
I know a lot of Joannas I love, but yeah, sorry, Joannes.
So I'm reading Amora. Natalie, I don't know how to pronounce her first name. Natalia, maybe? Polesso. She is a Brazilian author, and this is her first work, I'm pretty sure, that's translated into English, and short stories. They're all about women and women loving themselves and women loving their bodies and women just coming into their own. Every short story, I'm about halfway through it, and I've been kind of blown away by each one. And the thing about it is each one is only, like the longest one I've read, I think is like 9 pages. They're really short stories, but I'm loving every one of them. So I've been starting to recommend this one because it's great as a whole, but also like you can take it one piece at a time. They have a theme, but you don't have to read the first one to enjoy the 20th one. It's fine. You can just digest it at your own speed. And I love that about this one.
It's really nice. So it's like, I love that you can like kind of divide it into chunks. It's really helpful.
Yeah, and it's good. I've been like, I don't know about you guys, but since COVID, my sleep pattern has been like insane. So sometimes I fall right asleep. Sometimes I'm up for like 2 hours after I get in bed. Sometimes I go right to sleep and wake up at like 3 a.m. and can't go back to sleep. And this book and books like it that are short and have these short stories and stuff have been great for that because you can fall asleep in 5 minutes. You can wake up at 3 and read some more. It's really easy to digest that way.
It's the perfect Corona book.
Yes,
weirdly, the book I've been reading before bed if I need to relax, because just reading a single chapter of it will be like, all right, it's bedtime. I've been rereading James Herriot's All Creatures Great and Small.
Oh,
and
do that.
Yeah, and it's just like, all right, let's hear about some vet problems that are written in like this beautiful, but like at this point, like slightly old-fashioned way. And like you just read a chapter, and it gives me the same feeling as when I, for the first time, read Winnie the Pooh last year. Aww. Where it's just like you get a little snippet of something that's like peaceful and like there's a problem, but it's resolved, and you're like, oh, that felt good.
Yes. Man, I haven't read Winnie the Pooh in forever. And that, you're right, that would probably be a great one to revisit right now. Just feel good, nostalgia, happy. Yeah, I got that.
I didn't read it until I was an adult. Like I'd seen like some of like the TV programs and things like that. But I only decided to read it after seeing Christopher Robin. Because that movie made me bawl. And then I read it, and it holds up as an adult who had never read it before. So if you're also nostalgic for it, I imagine it will be delightful.
All right. I'm going to add that to my list. That's a good one to share with my son too.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my turn. Speaking of comfort reads, y'all ever read romance? I'm real into it. It's been a new discovery the past couple years. And so at first I thought I only loved the very highbrow, this is just Jane Austen with sex. Like that's all I wanted. But I made a crucial mistake. I forgot about crime boys. I don't know if y'all have seen Peaky Blinders or Sons of Anarchy, but I love a good crime boy. And Sarah McLean, she understands me. I think she's one of your locals, isn't she, Nicole?
She's in New York City, so she's not specifically mine. Like Books of Wonder and Books Are Magic have higher claim to her. But she was my first non-Nora Roberts romance novel with her YA romance novel that people don't remember exists called The Season.
I'm saving it for a rainy day.
It's so good. But she's who got me hooked onto romance full tilt. I have all of her books in the other room. I love her so much.
I love her so much. I love crime boys, which is something I didn't realize because I was always like, oh, you want Lord so-and-so. No, these are like gutter boys and they speak with Cockney accents and they call everyone bruv and I love them. And this is her newest one and it just came out and it takes a villain who I thought was unredeemable. I'm being so dramatic. Sorry, y'all.
No, go for it.
It took a villain who I thought was unredeemable, and then you get his backstory, and you're like, oh, he too is just a crime boy. Anyway, if you're looking for something to read that will fill you with incandescent happiness, what is this movie called? God. Bare Knuckle Bastards.
Yes.
Yes. I love them. One of the bastards is a lady. I love her the most. Now you know.
Spoiler alert.
It's not a spoiler. It's pretty. Oh, wait. I guess you would. Yeah, there she is. Look.
She's on the cover.
She's on the cover. I guess they're all ladies on the cover.
Hey, Bree, if you're still watching, what are you reading? Romance right now. What's your favorite romance?
While you answer, I'll show you one that's on my reading list for the upcoming week. So the secret that you I don't know if the two of you know is I'm technically on vacation right now. I'm on vacation for the next week. And all I plan on doing is reading. And high on my list is Olivia Waite, who I haven't read yet, but have only heard amazing things about. And her newest is a historical romance with a lesbian beekeeper. And I can't wait to devour this. Her first one was a historical romance about a lesbian scientist that I also have in my room. I read romance across all spectrums. And I'm super excited for that one because everybody I know who's read it has loved it.
I have that one in the other room, and if I were on vacation, it would be on my TBR right now.
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Yes. Absolutely. So I'm gonna pull. Oh, okay. Wait. I ordered and finished The Love Square by Laura Jane Williams. Adorable British writer, super cheeky.
I have seen some of her galleys. I might have to snag one.
Yeah. I love that when, we see all these galleys. So at indie bookstores and bigger bookstores, we get a lot of advanced readers copies. Publishers send us books to read ahead of time, so we know what they're all about by the time they come out. And yeah, we get tons of them. And I'm sure you guys do too, where there's just shelves of them and some of them, they stick out, you really want them or you'd heard about them before, but there's so many, they just sit on the shelf and you're not sure which ones to take home. So I love that, getting other recommendations from other booksellers, and Bree is a bookstagrammer, a local bookstagrammer to us. So showing, she'll say the name of a book. I'm like, oh wait, I've seen that. So yeah. And then, you can go pull it off the shelf and take it home.
Can I tell y'all a crazy galley story?
Do it.
Okay. So I don't know if y'all are familiar with Blue Willow Books in Houston, but Kathy Berner works there. Kathy, if you watch this, I love you forever. One day, Kathy texted me and she was like, "What's your address?" And I was like, "Okay, weird, but sure." And then I got a book in the mail, and the return address said Jason Reynolds, and I was like, "This isn't real." I love Jason Reynolds. I would die for Jason Reynolds. Jason Reynolds now sends me an arc every month that he wants me to read with a note because and every time I get it, I like freak out and I'm like, can I frame all the notes? Anyway, the first book he sent me was this Everybody Lookin'. It's by Candace Lowe, I want to say. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I apologize. It's a book in verse about this girl who's like just gone into college and she wants to become a dancer. And it's about kind of like the expectations you have in generations. It's so beautiful. Here's my note from Jason because I kept it because I love him.
You'd have to. Like, I would keep those for sure.
Anyway, so I finished that and it's so amazing. It made me cry a lot. I think it's going to be a huge deal this fall. And he just sent me another one called Chlorine Sky by Mahogany Brown. And I don't have a picture of that, but I am going to read that soon. And that's my crazy galley story. Jason Reynolds, if you're watching this, thank you.
One of the things
Reynolds is amazing, and you guys should read his books, and I will definitely link to them.
Long Brown comes out in graphic novel soon. It's going to be so good.
I believe we all worship at the feet of Jason Reynolds. I recently I do weekly video updates for the store. And I was plugging Punching the Air recently, which I haven't read yet, but is in my list because I love novels in verse. And that one, yes, is so very important. But it has a Jason Reynolds blurb on the cover. And in my video, I'm like, if Jason Reynolds tells you to read something, you read it.
It's so true.
Right?
I mean, just
Sammy, what was the name of the book you plugged again, just for Kate in the comments?
Everybody Lookin'. And every and body are two separate words, and I'm not tilting this correctly. There we go. Okay, Everybody Lookin' by Candace Lowe. It's I think it comes out in September. Let me see.
Soon.
You mean this month?
Yes, it comes out in September. Pre-orders then. And also, I concur about Punching the Air. It's amazing. Edie Savoy is so underrated, and it does make me extremely angry, and everyone should love her very much because her Pride and Prejudice retelling set in the Bronx is like one of my favorite books I've ever read.
I loved that book.
She's one of our locals to our Millerton store, and she's so nice.
She did an event with us, and I love her. Tell her to say hi. Not that she'll remember me, but it'd be cool if she did.
To pick up Punching the Air, I think you guys had. We do have Punching the Air. We currently have Punching the Air on the shelf at Garden District Bookshop. Or Bree, do you mean you should pick up Punching the Air?
You should. Also, I see that Bree recommended Take a Hint, Danny Brown. Yes. A+. Talia Hibbert is amazing. Her books are so like. She writes about heroines with disabilities a lot, which I love because Nicole and I are chronic pain buddies. Raina, I don't know if you're terrible.
Oh, I can tell you about medical issues.
Talia understands this and writes about heroines who have like chronic pain, and every time I'm like, yes, we can find love. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I recently got diagnosed with something called Sneddon syndrome. You've never heard of it because no one has. It's incredibly rare. You can Google it and you'll find next to nothing. But it's not pain, but my right hand is numb. So that's fine.
Yeah.
So you know.
Yep.
I was going to ask you guys one of the questions that I wanted to ask you guys because I know we all say that we read diversely and what that means to you, I think is important because different customers come in and you say it and is it a throwaway word? What does the word mean? And what does it means? It seems to mean something a little differently to everybody. Mm-hmm. So that is definitely something I wanted to ask you guys. What does reading diversely mean to you?
Hey, Sami, ask me about NECBA really quickly.
Hey, Nicole, what's NECBA?
So, for those who don't know, because I assume many of you are not based in New England, NECBA is the New England Children's Bookseller Advisory Council. So it's a group of booksellers in New England who are really passionate about children's books who come together multiple times a year for educational sections. And one of the things we do, which Rebecca, who is in the comments, I know can speak to as well, is a program called Windows and Mirrors. So Windows and Mirrors takes the principle that there are basically three kinds of books: windows, mirrors, and sliding glass doors. You can look into other people's stories, you can see your own story reflected back at you, or you can step kind of between the two worlds. And every year, twice a year, lists are curated by independent booksellers in the New England region that spotlight different diverse children's books. So this is racially diverse, sexuality diverse, disability diverse, a lot of own voices titles as well. So those are people who have lived the experience, writing about that experience, and round them up into lists and distribute them to independent booksellers across New England to help curate and cultivate our sections. So every book on that list is read by an independent bookseller, vetted by them, loved by them, and shared. So I will get into what it means for me personally in a second, but I really wanted to plug NECBA. You can follow them on Twitter and Instagram at NECBA Books, NECBA Books, because a lot of cool stuff is happening with Windows and Mirrors, and we had great plans to nationalize it this year, and then the weirdest thing happened. Who knew? So if you care about children's books, and especially diverse children's books, keep an eye on what the Windows and Mirrors team is doing, because it's really great work. Thanks, Sami.
Anytime. I was actually thinking about this question earlier. I might be psychic. I don't know. Or it might be because Nicole and I in our email chain with Raina kept being like diverse books and all that. It means a couple of different things to me. Number one, I think the most important thing, it is a kid looking at a cover of a book and seeing someone who looks like them on it. Because that is an experience that can change lives. It can shape the foundation of your lives. It's an amazing, beautiful thing. Two, it's stories that are underrepresented that you might not get to hear very much. Like white people. I'm sure we're all very familiar with Greek mythology and Norse mythology because it's in pop culture a lot. You know, you've got Thor, you've got Percy Jackson. I didn't know about Hindi mythology or African mythology and like with all the great new books coming out, holler at Roshni Chakshi, who I'm going to talk about later because she kills it. It's new stories and they're so interesting and they're so exciting. And that's someone else's story that you're getting to read. You're getting like a peek into a culture. I think that's really good. And also, like, to be real, I work in Mississippi. It's not always great down here. Raina works in New Orleans. She probably, working in the South is kind of difficult at the best of times. It's pretty difficult right now. And I think that it is our duty as booksellers that we need to promote books that uplift communities that aren't heard. It's our job to promote their voices.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think books uniquely, or reading maybe uniquely, has an opportunity to be one of those windows into anything that doesn't look like you. And unlike like watching a movie or even a documentary, and you get maybe, an hour to 2 hours of this information, it's just kind of being thrown at you. You rarely immerse yourself in whatever you're watching. And a book is different. You sort of become part of and really immerse yourself into whatever it is that you're reading. And so I completely agree. I do for myself. Diversity for me is anything that doesn't look like me. And that doesn't mean that everything I read, doesn't look like me. Obviously, I read plenty of middle-aged white moms. I do. But if I look back over the last 10 books I read or 20 books I read, I want that to look diverse. I want all white, Black, Asian, Indigenous, African. I want all of these everything, colors and straight, gay, trans, everything to be in there, because I I can't travel everywhere. I can't meet everyone. I can't become part of everyone's culture in real life. But through books, I can sort of relate to them and learn about them every day. And that's, and that makes me a better person when I talk to people, when I go visit other people, when I'm trying to understand a news story that's happening, in its other country, and why are they doing that? Why is that happening? I don't understand. If I've read books set in and about and by people in that culture, I have a better understanding of what they might be going through. And that's like a tall order for books. It really feels like it is. But I have not encountered anything else besides actually traveling to that place and being in that group that does that exposes me to those things. And so I want to do that. And I want other people to do that as well. So book selling, allows me to share other people's stories with the customers that come in, and hopefully we can all become more kind because of it.
I think for me on a personal level, now that I've done my NECBA pitch, reading diversely boils down to three things. Before I say those three things, I want to go back to something you said really quickly, Raina, which is I had gotten curious about something a few months ago, and I actually ended up doing an article on it for Bitch Magazine, specifically from the angle of what Sami said of kids reading diversely. And specifically for me, I was interested in how escapist fiction helps your brain. And so I talked to professionals, and the reading a physical book, and especially escapist fiction, and especially when it's reflecting your own reality back at you. So a positive experience, but like, let's say Black kids reading about Black joy, for instance, actually rewires your brain in such a way that it resets neural pathways. And it not only helps you remember the book better, but it helps you function in society better. Like, it allows you to basically hit a reset button that allows your brain to process everything that has happened, while also then getting this positive reinforcing experience. Anyway, escapist fiction is important, and especially escapist fiction for kids.
Cry a little bit, right? So beautiful.
Like, I was like, I have a theory, and the person I was talking to was like, let's go into why this is accurate and why physical books are the best. And I was like, yeah. But for me, reading diversely boils down to three things. The first is that not only reading diversely, but ensuring that diverse books are published and put into the hands of both people who they represent and people who they don't represent, are righting wrongs that have been occurring for centuries upon centuries. I am a straight passing white person who looks able-bodied. Any book about a white woman could be about me. White men have been having their stories told for straight white men have been having their stories told for centuries. And so we're just at the tipping point of being able to fix what should have been fixed a really long time ago, which is this publishing problem where the only stories being told were either white stories or stories of queer pain or BIPOC pain. And so on one level, it's just me going, this is my contribution to trying in the smallest way I can to reset history. The second is I read both to, so second thing, I read to experience the lives of other people. And that means I read like a lot of fantasy because I want to experience things that I myself have not experienced. But also it means reading stories about Black folks and gay folks and trans folks and folks who don't share my experience because I want to get an accurate view of the world. If you're just reading the same stories over and over and over again, not only is it going to get really boring really quickly, unless you have like a very, like how I eat food, a very bland palate taste, but it gives you a fuller sense of where you sit in the world, and it does increase your empathy. You can't feel kindness to somebody who you don't see as equal to you. And the third, of course, is that I am disabled and I am queer. So like I also read to see myself reflected back at me, which is lovely.
You deserve to see yourself. That's so important.
I mean, I do because I'm awesome, but I also do because everybody deserves stories that reflect their own selves back at them. And the thing about those kinds of stories is they also make you better. because like they make you think about your own life and your own place in it. And that doesn't just happen when you're reading stories about other people. It happens when you're reading stories about yourself.
Absolutely. I think too, you're writing that fine line, like you're talking about, of windows and mirrors, right? Mm-hmm. It makes certain things more approachable, I feel. So when you find good books that do ride these lines, and being able to recommend them to people who you feel like, oh, they might not take to something that's like, okay, well, this is completely a genderqueer story, and they're gonna go, I don't know if I'm gonna like that. I was like, okay, well, let me build a story around that for you. And I think we have some customers here. So we're, in the Garden District, which is the oldest old money section of New Orleans. So some of our customers they're old school. They want to branch out, but they don't know how, and it's change, and it's scary. Change is scary. So finding books that you can say, okay, this has a character that you're going to relate to, and a character you might not think you do, you should try this, is very important.
I talk about this a lot at my store because although I'm in New York, I am that perfect 100 miles from Manhattan, which means I have like a bunch of well-meaning liberal white people. And I also have a bunch of like people who somehow own farms, don't work on farms, and are wildly racist. And it's a very weird combination. So I talk a lot about the fact that we need to be pushing those books into everybody's hands. A, because it increases empathy, and B, because those authors need to be read, and C, because I refuse to just sell the same 5 straight cis. I love you, Tor. I'm not going to hand sell the new Christopher Paolini book. Tor.com has too many other excellent books that I need to be selling. But one of the things I find that is wonderful is I'll mention the diversity of books when I'm pitching them. But I might not mention it as the forefront or mention it straight away. So like when I talk about This Is How You Lose the Time War, which is one of my favorite books I've read this year and is beautifully written, as you can tell from like my 100 sticky notes in the side. I mentioned the fact that it's a love story between time agents. I'll throw in that it's sapphic and that one of the authors is an author of color. Like, that's great. Maybe both authors, at least one author. But it's the point of it is it's a novella that is incredibly well written, that deals with all of this sci-fi stuff. And the sapphic stuff is just a bonus on top. The same applies to all the books I've propped back there. Pet is a YA exploration of religion and what to do when you find out that something is wrong in your community in this beautiful, fantastical way. The main character also happens to be a disabled trans Black girl. The House on the Cerulean Sea is the softest found family you will ever meet. The core romance happens to be between 2 men, but it's definitely the back burner to the softest found family story you will ever see. And The Gauntlet is one of the books that sells the most for us in our middle grade section. It's a book we did an event with locally at a school, and it was wildly successful for. And it's a Pakistani reimagining of Jumanji. It's awesome. It has the best food descriptions ever. And it's so good.
I think she does. Bree, the author of Pet, lives in New Orleans.
She's so, they're so good. I love them so much.
Once again, hey guys, I live in Mississippi. So I engage in something I call guerrilla book selling.
Yeah.
Because in my store, if I put out a pride display in our children's store, someone would and has already screamed at me in the face. And it's not good for the kids to see that. And that's honestly why we don't do it. So I do something every year I call Sneaky Pride, where I arrange books in a rainbow shape that are all queer. They just happen to be there. There's no sign. You just have to know. But the kids, they know.
The ones that need to read them, no.
And it helps. And, being in a kind of conservative community, there are a ton of, liberal people in Oxford. We are kind of a liberal bubble, but also we are home to the University of Mississippi, which I don't know if you've heard, but we're having some real fun times removing our Confederate statue, and it's great. Anyway, so even when the kids want to branch out, sometimes their parents aren't kosher with it. So kind of what we do, or what I do as a bookseller, is make those titles available and put them in a place where the kids will look at them. And if the parents ask me questions, I'll answer honestly, but I'm not going to put like a big neon sign that says this book is queer over it, because that wouldn't help our community in the way that I think these kids need to be helped. Something else I do is I have a lot of parents and grandparents who come in and they ask for a boy book or a girl book. And what I do when they do that, I do dual point of view characters with a boy and a girl. And then I say, one of the main characters is the boy. Will the book be about people of color? You bet your butt it will be, because guerrilla book selling. Anytime someone comes in and wants mythology, I'm like, please read Aru Shah. There's a boy in here.
I talk to my coworkers a lot about the fact, like, one of my friends keeps trying to get me to move to the South because, like, it's cheaper there. And I keep going, no, I'm to New York. I would end up in fistfights with people. Like, it would just happen. Because of I am where I am, even though I do have to deal with the occasional person who makes a fuss in our store, it's definitely less often than, and either of you probably have to deal with it for sure. And like, I can do aggressive pride, like we sell at the Pride Festival every year. Like, it's aggressive pride displays. We do right now. It looks like it's going to be a year-round Black Books Matter table. So like,
oh yeah,
like, but the boy book, girl book kills me, because we'll get that here, and I just look at them and go, I'm sorry, I don't know what that means. The ongoing, like literally we go, could you explain that to me? Like, I'm sorry. The number of times me or a fellow bookseller has gone, I don't understand, books don't have a gender, and just stared very confused at the customer, because we can, and because they go, oh, well, the kid likes this, and I'm go, oh, so they're looking for a book about fantasy or whatever. And it's like, that's what you wanted to say. One of my coworkers gets it the worst. She will inevitably get the person who's like, I need a girl book. And she'll be like, how about this board book about owls? And the customer will go, no, I need a girl book. And my coworker will go, it's about owls.
Like, what is it about the owls that you find gender specific?
No, I did have a person tell me I was being disrespectful one time when I asked them what they meant by boy book or girl book, and then they yelled at me. That happens a lot. Y'all, if you don't know this, if you work in retail, someone will yell at you.
It happens.
It happens.
The fun part about being manager of my store now is I can just they'll do that. I'm waiting for the moment where they're going to be like, I'd like to speak to the manager. I want it so bad. I want that moment, because I'm very good when I'm on the floor. Like, I'm not going to throw down with people, but like, I will push back gently and say, I don't understand what that means. And if they're like, I want to speak to somebody who does, I'll be like, well, I'm the highest ranking person here. So if I can't help you, might be a problem. What do they like? Just tell me what they like. Tell me if they like soccer or science.
It's cute. I don't know if you guys, if they do this at somewhere around your store, but there's a few like organizations in town that will, for Christmas, they will put little tags, on the tree, and it just says like 4-year-old boy or, 8-year-old girl. And those, and they honestly don't know anything else about the person, and those are the hardest ones almost to sell, because you'll try things but it says boy. And I'm like, I know. And I know that's all you know, but I promise this is a good book. Just give it a shot. Like, it's a good book.
We do a program like that at our store called Book Angel. So we put it up this year. It's going to go up real early. That way we ensure that the kids get the books in time. But every child who people in their, so the guidance counselors of local schools go through and they make a list of kids who they are pretty sure won't be getting either any gifts or no books for gifts for the holidays this year. And customers who come to our store buy the books for the kids. It's delightful. We do have the gender and the age of the child along with a fake name, but we also, on the back of every tag is a list of 2 or 3 of their interests and their reading level. So like, even if it says like girl or boy, which is more, I think, something the guidance counselors are putting on, especially for like younger kids who might like be at a school where there's like, no, they're at that age where they're like, I don't want to read about X.
Yeah.
Like you then get like an 8-year-old girl who really loves soccer, and you're like, okay, we know exactly what to get for her.
Right. That's absolutely true.
Kate Elkins in the comments said, who knew there could be so much drama in bookstores? I want so badly for there to be a sitcom along the lines of Superstore that is set in a bookstore. I think it would be wildly successful.
I mean, there's this little book, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's this little book with like all the weird requests.
Weird things customers say.
Ask for stores. Because people will literally come in and be like, I need that book with the green cover that was on Good Morning America. And I'll be like, or they'll just be like, I need this book that I saw 3 years ago. It had a red cover. And I'll be like, and sometimes I'll be like, I didn't work here then. And they'll be like, well, you don't know your inventory? And I'll be like, not from 5 years ago before I worked here.
Based solely on red cover. Like,
yeah.
I'll show you every red cover book in the store, but it ain't gonna help you.
My favorite request this year has been, I need a book about books that I saw in your store on this bookshelf, which was the incorrect bookshelf for any books about that topic to be stored. And I went, do you remember the title? And they went, no. And I went, do you remember the author? And they went, no. And I went, do you even remember the color of the cover? And they went, no, but it was next to the couch and it should still be there. It was here 3 months ago. And I turned around, and this was like weeks ago. And so we've completely rearranged the store and gotten rid of the couch because of COVID. And I looked and I was like, sir, I don't think it's here. And he was like, I'm positive it's, and I was like, sir, there's no couch. The bookcase has different books in it now. I don't know how to help you. But I appreciated his enthusiasm.
He was sure.
He knew.
Was very confident. I will say though, when a customer comes in with a description like that, and you do find the right book,
magic.
So good. Yeah.
That will make a week. I will just ride that sometimes, especially if it's as vague as like what we're talking about. It'd be like red cover. It was like, I don't know, sometime before the summer, like, okay. And then you can pull it out and they're like, yes, that's the one. First of all, how did they remember? And secondly, then I'm like, yes.
Yeah, you do. You feel like a god. You're like, yes, I do know every book of all time. Thank you.
Exactly. That scavenger hunt type of thing, like you were mentioning, Nicole, at the beginning, where you didn't notice how much you missed the interaction with customers until like they started coming back in. Mm-hmm. And that's definitely that sort of scavenger hunt part where you're learning from them and the books, maybe they come in looking for a book you shelved but didn't really pay any attention to, and then you find it for them. And you get to sort of experience that book too. That's when you really look at the back cover and read the little bit. And go, oh, this does look really interesting, and all of that is gone. I feel like I got behind on books, on what was coming out and what was happening in books, because the interaction with the people weren't there, and we were all just sort of like trying to stay above water for so long in March to like, I don't know now, but. Early on, especially, it's like we were just trying to survive to the point where I was like, what's coming out? What's new? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. It shows up. I put it on the shelf. I answer phones. I do website orders. I don't know what's happening. I'm just here.
It's all chaos. I know we're getting to the end of our time. Do we want to do like quick fire book recommendations?
Yeah.
Sure.
Because I know Sami has a stack of stuff she wants to talk about, and I have a stack of stuff I want to talk about. And I thought maybe we could talk about some books we love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I start? I'm extremely excited. I've already talked about Roshni Chokshi. I'll talk about her forever because she's a perfect human being, and I have met her several times. Can't confirm. Y'all are sleeping on the Gilded Wolves series. One time, someone asked me, "Should I buy this book?" And I yelled across the room, "That book is my child. Please buy it." This is what I was talking about. One time, someone on Reddit said, "Isn't that book just watered down Six of Crows?" And I spent 3 paragraphs explaining to them why they were wrong and they should never speak again. They did end up buying the book and loving it. Heist, book. Sequel comes out very soon. If you're interested in getting a signed copy, my store's hosting a virtual event with Roshni, and I'm very excited about it. Someone else go.
Just came out in paperback. I have the hardcover. Is Sadie by Courtney Summers. To Kate, I believe you were asking for thrillers earlier. I should have thought of this one as well. This is a book that is half podcast transcription, half novel. It's about Sadie, who goes hunting for the person who killed her sister, and then the podcast called The Girls that takes place a year after Sadie disappears as the podcasters try to put together what happened. It's incredible. It's alternating chapters. There is a plot twist that is so good that I screamed, and I don't often have visceral reactions to books like that, but boy, did I scream. It's incredible. Courtney Summers is the coolest, and the really cool thing about this one is if you're not sure the format is going to work for you, you can actually download the podcast as a podcast. It's called The Girls, and Macmillan, Wednesday Books, put it up online just as a podcast that you can download. So please give this book a try. It is so good. Trigger warning for those who need it for discussion of sexual assault and violence, but it's handled very gracefully, and just so good.
Ted's trying to get us on a panel at Winter Children's Institute.
Heck yeah, Ted. You've got this right.
All right, we're going to tell them Ted recommended us, so they have to do it.
We know people.
That's true. So if we're going around, we were talking about backlist, so I pulled this out, Fever Dream by Samantha Schweblin. One of the ways that I really like to read diversely, we were talking about, is I read tons of books in translation. I love that. She is from Argentina. Yes. And this could also be, this is a really like suspenseful thriller, psychological thriller for sure. A mom and her son, and they're staying with friends, and that friend also has a son, and there is something happening with that son, and you don't know what is up. You don't know. He's just not, he's a little strange. He's quiet. He's always staring off. And the mom you're following is like, should I even let my kid be around this kid? What is happening? What is going on? And that is, it just, this psychological mix of like, what is happening with this kid? And I loved it. It was there is also a twist in this one, and I was kind of like, oh, they did that. Okay. All right. That's cool.
Ooh, do we have time for another? Because I'll do
do it.
Okay, this is the best book about clinical depression I've ever read. As someone who suffers from clinical depression, it's not fun. Morgan Parker wrote the funniest book about depression that I have ever read. It's hilarious. You should also read her poetry collections. But this book made me laugh until I cried. And what I love so much about it is like it's about this African-American girl who primarily hangs out with white kids and really, really loves Weezer. And the whole first part of the book is her arguing about which Weezer album is the best, which is a struggle I feel in my heart. So if you're looking for a book about depression that's not preachy or uplifting, but that is just real and genuine and raw, but also hilarious, hell yeah.
White is for Witching by Helen Oyeyemi. So this is a backlist title, so this is not the most recent book of hers. Her most recent one is Gingerbread, which is also excellent. But this is about a young woman with a couple different mental disorders who lives in her family house, and the family house is sentient and has strong opinions about what she's been up to. It's an exploration of queer identity and race and racism and reckoning with family legacy, but in the guise of a horror novel featuring a sentient house. It's very good. And if you especially want to get in the mood for something spooky this year, for Halloween, White is for Witching.
Good. All right, well, keeping with the book and translation theme, The Traveling Cat Chronicles has been out for 2 years, but I recently discovered that there's a movie in Japanese, and I'm working to get my hands on a subtitled version, and I haven't done it yet. I haven't been able to get it, but I'm going to find it. But the Traveling Cat Chronicles is about this guy, and he gets, I don't I'm not going to spoiler the ending for you, but there's a reason why he has to get rid of his cat. This cat, he loves it. It's been his best friend, and he has to get rid of the cat. So it's him and his cat traveling around Japan to a cousin's house and a friend's house and all these people who say, oh, I'll take the cat in for you. And they go and they travel and they check out the house, and can they keep him, and will he leave the cat with this cousin or this friend? And so it's a beautiful, beautiful landscapes of Japan, and this amazing friendship between this guy and his cat. And when you find out why he feels like he has to get rid of the cat, it's very touching.
Do we have time for one more?
We can go. If we want to go, we'll go one more round.
We have one more.
Right, let's do it. All right, go.
Backlist that y'all are sleeping on: Kingdom of Ash and Briars by Hannah West. This takes so many of my favorite fairy tales and also Jane Austen novels and combines them in a world building way that is so new and fresh. It's really exciting. So it's from the point of view of this girl who has magical powers, doesn't know she has magical powers, ends up playing pretty much the fairy godmother in a Sleeping Beauty like plot, also while within her own Mulan style plot. There's Jane Austen. There's Cinderella. It's got everything you need, but you're so attached to these characters, it feels totally fresh. It's a series, and it's awesome. And Hannah has a new book coming out in December about Texas witches that is A+, called The Bitter Wine Oath. Okay, I'm done.
All right, my last one, YA novel, Among the Bees and Briars by Ashley Poston. So I love Ashley's work. If you haven't read her, she's the author of the Heart of Iron sci-fi duology and the Geekerella trilogy from Quirk. This is her first fantasy novel, and it's so good. It's about a gardener's daughter and a magical fox trying to save their kingdom from utter destruction. I hate to bring up Howl's Moving Castle again, but it's Howl's Moving Castle meets Wilder Girls. It's got the creepiest monsters, but it's also so whimsical and full of joy. It comes out in October, and it's a delight. Ashley just announced her pre-order campaign, and you can pre-order and get the swag from any independent bookstore. So you can pick your favorite on this list and just head over to Ashley's Twitter account, fill out the form, and you can get swag. And it's so good. You're going to love it. It's going to bring a big old smile to your face.
Also, my store is hosting Ashley. Bye.
So we'll post the event links, sir. We'll have to do that at the end. Okay, my last one is Almost American Girl. It's a graphic novel. Came out in January, so I imagine the paperback is coming out pretty soon. This one isn't in translation. It was originally written in English, but the author moved from South Korea to America when she was younger. And this is the point of view of that. There's a girl who moves. Her mom moves them, and she is kind of uprooted from her family and her home and her friends in South Korea, and is stuck in Huntsville, Alabama, which you can imagine that to begin with. But I don't read a lot of graphic novels, but what I loved about this one is that I felt it felt so real. I mean, it's good when books do that, but even with the pictures, nothing was exaggerated. Nothing felt overdone. I really could put myself in the position of a girl who is really just uprooted and doesn't understand America, let alone Alabama. And now she's stuck there with this family she doesn't know, and her mom gets married to this American man, and she doesn't know what she's doing there and having to deal with school and everything in this book. I 2 thumbs up. Adults, kids, all of you. So guys, thank you so much for coming on and joining me and sharing all of your books with us and all of your reading and all of your bookstore stories. It was tons of fun.
This was so much fun. I wish we could do this every week, honestly. The people need to hear from us.
I had a blast, and I loved everybody watching, everybody in the comments. Hi, you made this a great time.
Yes, thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting, and have a good night.
Buy all the books.
Yes, buy all the books.
All the books.
Good night.